Hey friends, you're listening to This Quote Changed My Life, a podcast about inspired action. My name is Tracy and I'm the host of the show. Thank you so much for checking in. If you're watching through YouTube, hi again. And if you're listening, yes, I'm doing YouTube. If you didn't listen to the last episode 63, I've decided to give vodcasting a go, is when you video as you podcast, just to change things up a little bit and to make it a little bit more interesting. And it'd be really nice to connect with you guys in this way so that you can see the face behind the podcast. Was it worth it? Anyway, I'm really excited to be back. It's still very daunting and new to me to do this, but as I said last episode, I really like to push myself and challenge myself in small actionable ways, and I hope that kind of inspires you to do the same. Not just, put your face on a YouTube channel, but to do a little bit more with what you're already doing. So hopefully that you can get to where you want to be, or just to test yourself, to see how things are and see how you go when things are a little bit challenging. Because I think that if we stay comfortable, we don't learn as much about ourselves and what we can do and where we could go. So I hope that in some small way, by you watching me podcast very badly by myself at home, that it gives you the kind of confidence to give things a go too. So I do hope that you are enjoying the podcast and the podcast, and thank you so much for listening to my last episode too. I do know that people have picked me back up, and I'm seeing some lovely messages from people, so thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys for sticking with me for all this time I've had the podcast. I think it's a couple of years now, but I do hope to do more with the podcast this year, so thank you so much for sticking around and supporting me. Today's quote is something that really has meant a lot to me, especially this year, it's only February, but it really gave me a sense of mindfulness and the place in the world where I was in the moment, and it still does. And the quote today is, "You are exactly where you need to be." And it was so funny with this quote. I found it actually when I was looking for a new phone case for my iPhone, and I saw it and immediately loved it, and I ordered it, and it came just before Christmas, and it's so colorful, and actually I should show you. Here it is. It's amazing. I love it so much, and the artist is at Ice Cream Color. I will link it below somewhere. But I love bright artwork. I love color. I love. Let me focus on that. I loved it straight away. Bought it straight away. Carried it around with me. But when I needed it the most, was when I was in the emergency room with my daughter. Now, I might have mentioned before in the podcast that I'm a mum. I have 3 kids, and my daughter is 12, and her name is Jovi, and she has a genetic disorder called Rett syndrome. And with that, her epilepsy is, without swearing, it's horrible. That's been the worst part of Rett syndrome for her and for us and for me as a mum. And up until very, very recently, she was having seizures every day, and we've been in the emergency room and ambulances so many times before. But on January, I'm going to say January 2nd this year, she needed to go back into the hospital, which is very scary at the worst of times. But during the pandemic and during the Omicron wave, we really wanted to avoid going to hospital. As you can imagine, it's not a nice place to be, but it was one of those times where you had to use your judgment and say, yeah, she needed medical attention. So we had to call the ambulance, and we went in to the emergency room where they tried to stop her seizures. She was having seizures at every 1 to 2 minutes at that point, which is horrible to see, and I don't wish it on anybody. But while we were there, we were running tests, and we needed to calm her down. And I have her favorite shows loaded on my phone at all times, because you never know when you need it, and we needed it at that time. So the nurse grabbed my phone. Oh dear. The nurse grabbed my phone and was showing her the shows like this. And I saw the quote. You are exactly where you need to be. And wow. It was exactly what I needed to hear, because wow. As much as you want to rush ahead, and that you want to be at a place, and you want to be at your goals, you want to be somewhere else, I think that we forget that the moments that we're in are just as important, if not the most important, because we think too much into the future that we forget where we are in the present. And at that moment, in that resource with my daughter and the amazing nurses and the doctors that were helping her, we all looked at that, and we knew that we were a team together, helping my daughter and helping all the other kids that were there. It was not a nice place to be, but we always felt very supported and very well looked after, as always. And we were all in the place where we needed to be at that time. Whew. So that's where this quote has really meant so much to me recently, and really did change my life. I know it sounds corny, the title of this podcast, quotes changing your life, but really, for that particular moment, it really did mean a lot to me, and it really brought me back to that moment and to ground myself in calm, and that everything would be okay, because we are surrounded by professionals and we're in a safe space, and not to think so much in the future. So I think when we're able to do that, we're able to take a deep breath, to look around us, to feel our feet on the ground, really look around and see where we are in that moment. It can bring you a lot of peace, and it can bring you a lot of confidence about your abilities to get through the hard times. And not just the hard times, not just hospital ambulance trips and emergency rooms. When you notice yourself noticing the good times become even better. And that's something that I really, really appreciate after learning so much about mindfulness over the years, is appreciating when I have it so good, because it means the bad times are not so bad, because I know I'll have good times again. So if I could send you away with some homework today, it is to catch yourself in a moment, whether that is a happy moment or sad moment, hard moment. I want you to be mindful in the moment, to see where you are, to plant your feet on the ground, look around, use your 5 senses, look around, and really appreciate the moments that you have been given. And I know that sounds really tough when going through a tough time, but I promise you there are silver linings to every moment, and that hard times don't last. I really believe that practicing your mindfulness is not just when you're happy and calm and still. I think the resilience is built when you are within those hard moments and you're able to ground yourself, take a deep breath, and realize where you are at the moment. You might not be where you want right now, but you're exactly where you need to be. And I hope that you remember this quote. Maybe go and look for this phone case on Casetify, or search for the artist. It is at Ice Cream Color. He's amazing. He's got artworks and prints that you can buy, lots of other goodies. And I hope that you have some mindful moments today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Make Sunshine, or search for This Quote Changed My Life wherever you listen to podcasts. Come and find me on Instagram at Make Sunshine Co. Have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye.